It's not easy to plan for the next 5 years. Successors आप बना रहे, लोग छोड़ जाते हैं, नए आ जाते हैं. But at least for the existing employees, so you create an environment where people, जो HR का काम है, exists for the people. Hiring या firing is just a small aspect. जो पूरा talent management का process है, is just a small starting part. कि आपने shortlisting की, hiring की. The next part of the whole talent management, right from the hiring and the pre-hiring till the person leaves the organization, is entire. उसके बीच में the HR has a much more stronger involvement. कि employees जब आते हैं, how do they feel the first day, the first 3 months? What's the kind of culture that they like to absorb in? What kind of planning is being done for their future? What is that training or development is being done for them? And people who are selected as जो high potential हम select करते हैं, उनको कैसे आगे लेके जाना है? And उनके लिए क्या difference, which is the healthy part. HR का ये काम है basically to make sure that we are all together and how to bring them together to understand people at different levels, people understand people with different needs, people with different ages. Stress के साथ आए और stress के साथ दोबारा जाए, how do you expect employees to work efficiently? So HR has to spend and think about a job or the industry much before you jump in. Problem ये होती है, jobs खुलती हैं, सब कहते हैं बच्चा ले लो क्योंकि आजकल आप jobs नहीं तो ले लें, फिर हम देखी जाएगी. बैठे तो उसमें क्या होता है कि organization का time और individual का time दोनों का जार होता है. Some people is very important and they always say कि degree is to really, it's like a visa to get a good job. ऐसा नहीं है कि डिग्रियां खत्म हो जाएंगी. You have frustration that they get, the negativities from the society, the negativity from the aspects of the social fabric. उसका effect, of course, लोग आ रहे होते हैं ऑफिस में. So we need to create an environment which makes them happy at least.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अस्सलाम वालेकुम. मेरा नाम शहबाज है. I have been leading multiple people in human resources roles in national and multinational organizations for last more than 1.5 decade. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, Assalamu alaikum. So today we have with us Shakeel Mapara. He is associated with SANOFI Aventis as head of HR, and we can see he has a long association with the same organization. Almost currently, he has already spent 16 years. So I would like to welcome you at the show, Shakeel, and thank you very much for making your time. I know you got a very busy schedule, but you're still making it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me over. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So आपकी presence का फ़ायदा उठाते हुए, since you are associated with pharmaceutical industry for a long time, so हमारी audience के लिए if you can just share an overview of how the industry works, किस तरह की industry है, what is the size and any growth possibilities, anything that you would like to share.
Okay, I can share some results, the published results, and this is of course the MAT till 2000 figures. The overall pharmaceutical market is around 650 plus billion rupees, and there are almost like 600 plus local companies and almost like 24 multinational companies. The growth till the last year, that's the MAT thing, was 14.5%, and I think CAGR is almost like 15+% increase in the growth rate. Now you can see there's a large number of local companies, and if you go back 20 years, it was a little bit reversed. There were lesser local companies and more multinational companies. And the top 20 companies actually have the share of 68% of the whole pharmaceutical size. And you know that it's a regulated industry, of course, so they have strict guidelines from the government also, and we have to follow that. And when we have our own, each multinational or each company would also have even stricter guidelines, because it's a very important industry, because it's all about health, it's about patients, it's about taking care of lives. And I think that's why it is an industry which has to be focused quite a lot. And I think those people who are passionate about joining these kind of industries which help save lives, I think they do quite well. And many of them do come over and join because of the same reason.
Wonderful. So that means आपकी अगर मैं जब आपसे समझूँ कि pharmaceuticals is a growing industry, and the people who would be listening to us, they can definitely think of exploring this industry like for their better career choices, right?
Right. You see, largely it is thought that it's probably filled with doctors and pharmacists, but it's not that. Yes, a lot of pharmacists know about the companies and they also join, and they are mostly in the factory oriented areas. However, there are pharmacists who have branched out and moved into other areas like marketing or even finance or even HR, which is good because you need to have a career, could be different than what you're studying. However, the industry has its own charm, and there are people who are now getting more interested towards the pharma industry, and those are MBAs and from other disciplines. So the image of pharma industry over the years has definitely improved. Otherwise, the first preference between the young professional has always been MNCs or the banks or companies that are displaying their logos everywhere, and we are restricted. We cannot advertise unless and until it's a completely non-prescription based product. So it's very difficult, very challenging, but at the same time, it has its own kind of an environment, kind of an own challenges. So like any other industry, I think all the young professionals should go for it. And in many countries, not Pakistan, pharmaceutical industry happens to be the top one. So it depends from country to country. And because of the multinationals going away from FMCG areas or other major companies that were not coming up, so people have now started to, come into the pharmaceutical industries, and you see the population rise, the number of students coming out every year, whether they are pharmacists, engineers, or MBAs. So where are they going to go? So the option has started. And once they come and work in the pharma industry, they go back and tell that there is a very powerful industry, and that's very good. It's like any other organization.
Thank you. In fact, what I've also observed that people जो ज़्यादातर pharmaceutical को join करते हैं तो एक लंबा अरसा associate रहते हैं within the same industry. I think शायद इसके पीछे ही वजह है जो अपने purpose की बात की, that you have that feeling of satisfaction. आपसे अगर पूछें कि शकील ने किस तरह से pharmaceutical को join किया था, and was it like some accidental entry, or like you chose it?
Well, it's interesting because I used to work for American Express Bank and Travel, and I was looking after the HR there. So American Express decided to go out of Pakistan, and in 2007, then somebody approached me that there's a job available in SANOFI Aventis and or in pharmaceutical. I said, who goes to pharmaceutical? So I really wasn't even prepared. I wanted to join some other bank or some other thing. But I came and gave the interviews and things like that, and I met the professionals, and I was really impressed. So, and when I joined, I said, okay, I'll leave in 6 months. I'll go back to a bank. And in the 6 months, I found out that first of all, the company's culture and environment was fantastic. And of course, there was a different challenge. And as an HR professional, I started doing a lot of sales calls with the salespeople. So I liked that, because it was something different. So slowly, now I've gone to 15 years. So you can imagine. So I really liked it, and it's been a good company, and it's been, of course, a good industry to be in. So really, I enjoyed that.
Okay, great.
So that's how I've been here.
Wonderful. So you just mentioned that you also started working like going into the field and making calls. So that was like a project? Yeah, कोई job आपको assign
No,
हुई
I
थी?
think it's not just for HR, but mainly for HR. If you sit in the room in the HRs and you're making policies about Salesforce and you don't know the business, what are you there for? You pick up the values and you try to have a value day. But what is the values? What is something that your customers are like? So the first thing is that you should know what we are selling and to whom are we selling? Who are our customers? What kind of individuals do we need in an organization? So you have a better idea. And since I'm interested in training as well, so you can use those examples. Plus, it gives a lot of motivation to the sales force that, somebody coming from the head office and making sales calls with them. So it makes a lot of difference. It gives them motivation. And you just don't make a sales call. So you go and stand with the salesperson, you talk about his personal life, he shares about his interests and all that. So it builds up that aspect. And plus, you have a good knowledge of what the business and customers are. So you keep that in mind while you are actually designing a program or doing some project or maybe even creating engagement workshops or what kind of leadership aspects are required. So that link between the sales to the rest of the departments with finance and supply chain and everyone is very important, because it's got a supply chain throughout the organization, right? Starting, because who faces the customers? It's not the GM or me or anyone, it's your sales force. So if you know what they are selling and how they should shape for the future, it's best that you need to go into the market to find out. And as the dynamics of the market change, as the customers change, as their expectations change, you need to hire people differently with a different mindset and with the right mindset at that point of time, that what is the need of the market.
Wonderful. I think you have touched quite good points there. अगर जैसे आपने एक बात की कि एचआर होते हुए अगर आप फील्ड में जाते हैं एंड यू वर्क विद द पर्सन स्पेशली द सेल फोर्स, ठीक है, वो उनकी मोटिवेशन के लिए तो डेफिनेटली हेल्प करता ही है।
Absolutely.
लेकिन the people like you who are there, you know, who are the decision makers, who are the one who are making policies. So I think, would you advise all the HR people out there who would be listening to us कि HR का अपना तो कोई अपना like they don't work for their own selves, ठीक है ना, they work for the organization and there are people for their policies works and everything. आपको लगता है कि फील्ड में इस तरह से जाना और काम करना that has helped you throughout your career and having better decisions, I would say, और आपकी एडवाइस होगी अलग दूसरे HR के लिए?
And you know, very frankly speaking, it should not be just HR. It should be people other than marketing who are already going to the sale. It should be senior people from finance, from supply chain, from communication, from industry, who should have these field visits with the sales reps, sales force, off and on. I'm not saying to do it absolutely all the time, but should have a feel of that. For HR, it becomes extremely critical because you're right. A lot of policies or procedures or the way things are, you need to shape those things. And let's not forget that the sales usually are forgotten because they're not in the head office. So we need to cater a lot of things, even for your engagement activities, even for your OD projects. You need to count them in because they are the bulk, they are the bread and butter. So it's important that they are taken into the loop. So for HR people, initially when somebody joins, I always ask them to go at least 2-3 times to different cities and to make sure that they understand what the customers talk. And it's so interesting. When I go sometime to the customers, they take a lot of time. They get happy that somebody else from the usual visits has been there. So yes, my advice would be for HR people, and even the rest of the people to take a trip to the cities or to the customers.
So it's a very interesting thing that you just shared. I think बहुत सारे लोगों को हैरत भी हुई होगी जान के कि HR वाले फील्ड में जाके भी काम करते हैं
बिल्कुल, exactly.
तो अब ये मैं coming back to the very basic question to everyone, like people like me also from HR has faced this question a lot कि HR करता क्या है? अगर इसको थोड़ा सा आसानी से brief कर दें कि what do you do?
You know, I started my career in Engro in sales and marketing में. So sales में था, and of course one day I was told that I was because in that company they transfer a lot of people and it's good for the movement. So when I learned that I'm going from sales to HR, I said, oh my God, who goes to HR? HR, I don't want to go. But I landed into HR, and slowly I realized that it was a great thing because I'm quite people oriented myself, and so there was a lot of interaction. I was doing a lot of hiring, so I used to interact with senior, junior people, and I started liking it. And then I got this job at American Express and as in HR, and that's where I tend to. But I started learning much more about is culture and about values and about engaging people and all that. So this is some strength that I thought this is the real HR. So when people have that image, what kind of HR is, the first thing जो उनके दिमाग में आता है वो ये है कि भाई HR तो जासूस है, HR जो है एक दिखाते कुछ और है और जब अंदर कंपनी में दाखिले होता है तो बिल्कुल ही कुछ और होता है, और HR का काम सिर्फ ये है कि लोगों की बातें सुनकर CEO को पहुंचा दें या दूसरों को बता दें, तो इन पर ट्रस्ट कभी ना करना, इनके साथ कभी शेयर ना करना, ये एक डिज़ास्टर रेसिपी है क्योंकि वो बहुत वो होता है। और HR जब में आ जाते हैं लोग तो शायद लोगों की सैलरी से पता लग जाती हैं, विच इज़ नॉट अ बिग डील रियली, या ये पता लगता है इसकी प्रमोशन और होती है, तो उसमें ये फीलिंग नहीं होनी चाहिए कि मुझे पावर आ गई, मैं तो बड़ी सब कुछ जानता हूँ। यू गॉट टू हैव इवन लोअर योर सेल्फ मच मोर बिकॉज, तो इस चीज़ को नज़रअंदाज करना चाहिए। एंड आई थिंक पीपल शुड अंडरस्टैंड दैट बिकॉज HR एग्जिस्ट फॉर द पीपल, हायरिंग या फायरिंग इज जस्ट अ स्मॉल एस्पेक्ट। जो पूरा टैलेंट मैनेजमेंट का प्रोसेस है इज़ जस्ट अ स्मॉल स्टार्टिंग पार्ट कि आपने शॉर्टलिस्टिंग की, हायरिंग की, द नेक्स्ट part of the whole talent management, right from the hiring and the pre-hiring till the person leaves the organization is entire. उसके बीच में the HR has a much more stronger involvement कि employees जब आते हैं, how do they feel the first day, the first 3 months, what's the kind of culture that they like to absorb in, what kind of planning is being done for their future, what is that training or development is being done for them, and people who are selected as जो high potential हम select करते हैं उनको कैसे आगे लेके जाना है and उनके लिए क्या प्रोग्राम होना चाहिए। तो it's not easy to plan for next 5 years, successors आप बना रहे, लोग छोड़ जाते हैं, नए आ जाते हैं, but at least for the existing employees, so you create an environment where people, जो HR का काम है कि जब लोग आएँ तो खुश हों, ये ना हो कि आज फिर कहाँ आ गए हम, आज फिर वही बॉस मिलेगा. तो वो जब देखें, it cannot be perfect because human beings are more complex brains के साथ operate कर रहे होते हैं. हर किसी की personality, background and the diversity is there. So everybody is different, which is the healthy part. HR का ये काम है basically to make sure that we are all together and how to bring them together to understand people at different levels, people understand people with different needs, people at different ages, people different genders. This is important. Plus, जब market में environment is changing, of course it's not just Pakistan. हर जगह दुनिया में economical stress है, economic crisis है, कहीं inflation ज़्यादा है, कहीं कम है, but generally it is being felt everywhere. And that's where people also change, the reactions to them, because the frustration that they get, the negativities from the society, the negativity from the aspects of the social fabric, उसका effect, of course, लोग आ रहे होते हैं ऑफिस में. तो we need to create an environment which makes them happy at least. और उस stress के साथ आए और उस stress के साथ दोबारा जाए, how do you expect employees to work efficiently? So HR has to spend time and also make sure that it is not the owner. It is not the owner because it is a facilitator. जिसे कहते हैं ना enabler है. It has to take along all the leaders, all the function heads, and the CEO of course. If the CEO doesn't agree, then nothing can happen. And if the HR doesn't agree and the CEO agrees, nothing can happen. So the whole management has to be together, and that's where the whole thing. Again, after all, this is the most important asset in the organization. It is that asset which walks out of your office every day and walks in. And we need them to be fresh next morning. ये तो नहीं होता ना कि मशीन चल के जाती है और आती है. So these are the assets, which is the most important thing. And I think when leaders, not just HR, all leaders realize this, it has to come.
वंडरफुल. आई थिंक आपने 2-3 चीज़ें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट यहाँ पे टच की हैं. एक तो आपने कल्चर की बात की, ठीक है ना. आई मीन वट एवर द थिंग, आपने डाइवर्सिटी की बात की. तो लाइक अगर HR के काम को सिंपल तरीके से आपने कहा कि सब मिलकर एक तरह से रहें कि एक अच्छा कल्चर वहाँ पर प्रिवेल करता. ये भी बहुत डिबेट होती है कि लाइक द कल्चर इज़ अ कॉल ऑफ HR या इज़ द कॉल ऑफ द CEO और लाइक CEO को छोड़ दें अगर हम एक टर्म यूज़ कर लेंगे जो मैनेजमेंट होती है और द ओनर ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. वेयर डज द मेजर ओनर्स ऑफ द कल्चर थिंग फॉल्स?
Well, आपने देखो कि बहुत सारे क्लिप्स अगेंस्ट HR बहुत आते हैं. और एक क्लिप घूम रहा था कि जिसके अंदर वो HR करता क्या है सारा दिन कुछ नहीं करते, बस इधर से उधर बातें करते रहते हैं. और एंड में कहते हैं एनुअल डिनर बस ऑर्गेनाइज करना है. ईट डे आपने नहीं किया. This is not really a major responsibility for HR. HR can facilitate this, but जब भी organize करें, it has to be all employees together to do that. Yes, HR can be driving this thing. लेकिन ये events जब करते हैं ख़त्म हो जाते हैं 1 दिन में 2 दिन में, which is good. लोग गए, हंगामा किया. But on a day-to-day activity, how does the supervisor deal with the employees? How do employees deal with each other? That is the main fabric. So Eid day is good. जश्न मना लिया हमने, काइट फ्लाइंग डे मना ली और एनुअल डिनर करा दिया, सब कुछ अच्छा हुआ है. लेकिन अगर एम्प्लॉय आपस में ही खुश नहीं है, अगले दिन जाके द सुपरवाइजर डज नॉट बिहेव प्रॉपर्ली, सो देन इट कम्स द बिहेवियर एस्पेक्ट. सो आईड लाइक टू फोकस that HR people should focus on developing leadership at all levels, frontline supervisors, middle level leaders, senior leaders, employees. How can they accommodate youngsters? Are what they should do? How can they really come up and and basically assimilate themselves? So there are challenges both the side. This is where the aspects of this culture comes in, and behavior change is not easy. It takes time. You can control it. Yet there will be organizations जिसमें pockets कहीं ज़्यादा होगा, कुछ लीडर अच्छे होंगे. आप ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में देखते हैं कि मुझे उस टीम में जाना, उनका लीडर बड़ा अच्छा है. So that happens also. But nevertheless, we need to have a harmonized thing. But if there is a system, there is a process that people understand that if there is something going wrong, then of course there is a process where they can complain to HR, to compliance, or to the senior leaders. That it also helps. And once you put up a system, then you must listen also. Then ये नहीं हो कि बस सिर्फ complain आती रहे and we are not able to resolve it. So we should be able to help that.
I think
so it's a responsibility for everyone, the culture. And HR जब policy culture पे या कोई let's say value day मना रहे हैं या value weeks मना रहे हैं, it's easy. But then you involve everyone, find out, go into the nitty-gritties, what are some issues, burning issues, and let's try to resolve it. But without the approval or the buy-in and alignment of the senior management, then it will not be fair to do that.
Yeah. So I think यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा चैलेंज का सामना, चैलेंज कह लें या इट्स समथिंग दैट HR को ज़्यादा इसमें रोल प्ले करना होता है कि like they think the management at the same page and as well as like all the organization. I think इसीलिए कहा जाता है कि HR शायद एक bridge होता है between the both the part. एक बात आपने लास्ट में भी कही कि जो एक्शंस आप ले रहे होते हैं लाइक कंप्लेंट्स आ रही हैं और आप उस पर काम कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं. आई थिंक वुड यू एग्री कि ये जो काम होता है जिसमें एचआर के पास कंप्लेंट्स या वट एवर द फीडबैक इज कमिंग, उनका एक्शन लेना या ना लेना एचआर की क्रेडिबिलिटी को बहुत इफेक्ट करता है?
बिल्कुल. I mean, you should be able to say no in such a way that people understand it. It's more of an art management. It's not 2 + 2. And people are not numbers. People are with emotions. People are with, there is falsafa bhi hai dimag mein. There is a brain that keeps on working. So there is that feel. You cannot measure I'm feeling 2%, I'm feeling 7%. It doesn't happen that. It's something very different. जिस तरह आप मिठाई खाती हैं, आपको मैं वो कैसा आप कहेंगे टेस्टी है, बट कैन आई डिस्क्राइब यू कि वो 2% था या डाटा एनालिटिक्स तो नहीं आ सकती उसमें. सो इट इज़ दैट पार्ट दैट वी नीड टू हैव दैट कंसेप्चुअल पार्ट ऑफ द एचआर, द इंटेंजिबल पार्ट जिसको आप छू नहीं सकते, because it's very difficult to do that. So basically HR has to understand and observe that how we can make that environment that people feel good. That feel good will only come if there is the trust developed. And so the trust gets developed if somebody has raised a concern, then somebody should be able to respond properly. Either yes or a no. If it's a no, let the person come back to you. लेकिन उसको सही तरह से articulate करें. Simply मैं कह दूँ कि नहीं हो सकता. And I always focus on how you say it. अगर मैंने किसी को ना कहना है तो there's a way to do it. ये नहीं कि ये नहीं हो सकता, तरीके से कहना चाहिए, बिहेवियर के साथ, वैल्यूज रखते हुए. पीपल विल अंडरस्टैंड, पीपल विल बी पॉजिटिव अबाउट इट. एंड अगर कोई अच्छी चीज़ भी देनी है तो उसको भी एक अप्रिसिएशन करके करना चाहिए. सो दिस इज वेयर दैट बिहेवियर एलिमेंट कम्स इन. वेरी डिफिकल्ट, नॉट ईजी, बिकॉज वी ऑल कम फ्रॉम डिफरेंट बैकग्राउंड्स एंड इट्स फाइन बिकॉज वी आर ऑल पीपल. बट द मोर वी ट्राई टू चेंज आवरसेल्व्स, और मेरा फोकस हमेशा होता है, आई इंक्लूड दिस इन द प्रोग्राम, इज अबाउट सेल्फ अवेयरनेस. I need to look into myself, and that has to continue. Unfortunately, if you look at the environment also, people are very restless on the roads. यहाँ पर किसी को कुछ कह दें तो फ़ौरन रिएक्टिव हो जाते हैं. तो हम एक रिएक्टिव नेशन से वापस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में आते हैं. तो उसको how we can manage to basically be calm, patient, listen to it. So you're right. The HR or any department, if the query comes in, it has to be a yes or a no. So हर दफ़ा yes नहीं हो सकता, हर दफ़ा no भी नहीं होना चाहिए. But in terms of policies, in terms of processes, किसी को समझाना चाहिए. And some people don't understand.
But there should be a response thing. अगर response नहीं होगा तो like credibility आपकी आहिस्ता उतनी नहीं रहती जितनी की होनी चाहिए, or the trust that you talk about.
And this is general. It's not about HR. It's not about organization. It's about life. If somebody comes to you for solution, you should be able to give it. चाहे आपकी family हो, चाहे आपका neighborhood हो, चाहे आपका दोस्त हो. There is a responsibility on myself. If somebody have asked me to help him, either I say no or either say yes. So that's how. Or I should try my best to help out. People who are not that people oriented may not do well in HR. When very frankly speaking, they have to develop this thing.
When we talk to the people from MNC background like yourself, and I've also worked in like one of them, they hold their culture very strongly, right? And they talk about it. And जब उनसे पूछते हैं कि culture किस चीज़ पे base करता है, तो they generally talk about the leadership behavior that you have just recently touched that topic as well. जो behavior की बात करते हैं, behavior leadership की बात करते हैं, like sitting at your position. अगर आपके पास for example कोई leadership की assessment होती है, तो what are the major factors that you look into the people that are going, these are the traits that I want to see in the people who would be going forward, be at the leadership level in your organization?
Well, both, even local organizations, there are a lot of effort being done also on culture and environment, and everybody is there, and some are good, some are bad. Multinationals can be their pockets not good, some company may have that. It all comes from the leadership. So the leadership ki jo aspects hai, because the selection of the person, now here it counts. When we talk about talent management, the right person for the right job may be technically fit, but he has to be culture fit as well. So that's most important. Of course, many things you cannot understand जब आप हायर कर रहे होते हैं तो उस वक्त तो नहीं पता लगता. लेकिन at the time of looking at talents कि यार ये लीडर बनना चाहिए, उसके अंदर हमें देखना चाहिए कि लीडरशिप में how he has performed over the last year. Some feedback is also very important. How he has articulated himself, how he has been in interpersonal skills, how he has taken or she has taken decisions, or how he or she has basically been taking a call on judgment, or how he or she has been leading the people. All these things. Performance is not the only factor. I'm sure multinational या local company में तमाम में ये high potentials का या talent potentials का there is a process, and there are many other processes. But sometimes you can easily spot on, yeah, this is the good bet. And when the person is promoted to a leader role, let's say frontline, it's very important that the company engages in providing him that training, a mentor in the organization to smoothly go up to that level. Because ये फील ना हो कि अब तो मैं प्रमोट हो गया हूँ तो मैं बड़ी चीज़ हो गया हूँ. तो जब बड़ी चीज़ हो जाते हैं तो फिर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता आप अपने आप को डिस्ट्रॉय कर लेते हैं. So as you rise, you need to stoop more low because you're about with the people, you know. So this is more important.
बहुत सही कहा आपने. एक तो बिहेवियर लीडरशिप की आपने बात की कि हाउ डू यू असेस दैट. इसके साथ साथ अगर हम बात करें जैसे आपने शुरू में बात की थी कि लाइक आप यू हैव आल्सो टच्ड अबाउट डेटा एनालिटिक्स एंड मेनी अदर थिंग्स अबाउट एचआर. How do you see that HR itself is evolving as a field or like expanding for the people who aspire to come into the HR as a career? आपकी क्या एडवाइस होगी? What are the specialized field under the HR umbrella जो आपको लगता है कि ग्रो कर रही हैं और उन पे आपको काम करना चाहिए and that would be really helpful in future?
Like I said, a lot of people don't have the right image, of course, of HR. कि वहाँ HR trust नहीं होता and all that, and HR has to build it up. Sometimes I see a lot of people who are very fashionable कि वो HR में जाना चाहिए because वो HR is हर industry में चला जाता है, so it's good to move around as thing. देखिए, it's one has to really understand that once you are in HR, even if you are with the masters of HR degree, if your behavior and personality doesn't jive in together or properly gel in basically with all the people, it makes no difference. Aapko technically you can be strong, like I said, but if you're not that, then how will it work like? So for the people who would like to make a career in HR, they have to be, they got to, you can't stop being a type A and type B personality. You know, you could be introvert, you could be extrovert, which is fine. But as a professional, you have to display that. So even if you are in HR, then you have to have the skills like you are very people oriented, number one. You have to create that trust. You have to have the way to articulate and to say no. मतलब आप वही एग्जाम्पल्स होते हैं जो बाहर से दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट से अगर HR में आते हैं तो व्यू डिफरेंट होता है. But when they come to HR, I can look now, you've got to listen to everyone. You cannot react because there we are here, a kind of a punching bag. But at the same time, we need to understand because if we don't listen, क्योंकि लोग देख रहे होते हैं कि HR के पास मसला लेके जाएं, लेकिन अगर HR के पास मसला आ रहा है और रिजॉल्व नहीं हो रहा और ट्रस्ट नहीं है कि ये तो मेरे बॉस को बता देंगे या फलाना चल जाएगा, तो फिर आपकी वैल्यू खत्म हो जाती है. तो you're just there as a firing person. Then that comes over time. It cannot come overnight. And it's not just the trust from the people. It's the trust that you need to develop amongst the colleagues as well. Everybody should get an equal treatment. You should be a friend to everyone. So simple as saying that you should have friendship. Plus, yes, the role of HR is evolving. And the evolution of HR is there, always been there. Like I said, market dynamics, people, youngsters are coming in. और अब वो नहीं है कि 30 साल बाद कोई नया जनरेशन आएगा. अब तो मैं समझता हूँ 8-10 साल 5 साल बाद एक नई जनरेशन तैयार हो रही है बिकॉज द वे सोशल मीडिया हैज़ इवॉल्व्ड. सो 10 साल, इनफैक्ट when I take my class and sometimes I teach, so I ask the 28-29 years of students, मैंने कहा would you think, कहने जी आजकल की जनरेशन बड़ी ख़राब है. मैंने कहा जनरेशन तो यू है, कहने नहीं, ये 18 साल 19 साल वाले बच्चे. तो देखें उसमें भी बड़ा डिफरेंस है. दे थिंक दे आर टू फास्ट, दे थिंक दे आर मोर erratic. हालांकि they are also youngsters at the age of 29. So basically it's important that yes, you have to be very observant. You have to be sensitive to people's backgrounds. You have to be sensitive to people in different ages. You have to be sensitive to people's emotions and moods. You have to be sensitive as part of how people react and could react. So that is important. So coaching and leadership and culture developments are 3 key areas. और ये evolve करती रहेगी with the way it is. Plus of course, there are now fantastic digital systems. Many companies have got it. So data analytics of HR, digital HR is critical because it makes the work faster. So we should be able to move that. But it cannot be only digital on the machines. You need to have the feel of the person. You need to have, even if you're, let's say, not connected remotely, but the Zoom calls and often connections and the way you act on the Zoom connects people. So that connection is also important. And then of course your data analytics certainly help you to convince the line leaders, because the business wants data, statistics also. तो वो बड़ा फायदा होता है, and it really helps a lot. So the more systems are digitalized, the faster it can get.
Yeah, so I think gone are the days जब पहले हम ये बात करते थे कि HR का नंबर से कोई ताल्लुक नहीं है, but I think अब एनालिटिक्स के आने के साथ HR is also more you can say fact based data के ऊपर बात कर रहे होते हैं, and that helps them to interact with the business, right?
Absolutely.
Shakeel Mapara से अगर जानना चाहें आप, you got a mashallah success story now, you got a more senior position. आपकी leadership level तक पहुंचने के लिए what are the traits that help Shakeel to grow at that level? What are the common things that you have been doing constantly?
Well, I myself is a very type A personality, very extrovert. So I was always fond of meeting people, talking to people. So I really enjoyed the sales life that I had. A different kind of sales, selling in the field outside Karachi. So it was different. But I think I keep up the pace. I like to be social and relationshiping. It's not going around and मतलब किसी के तारीफ करने की ज़रूरत नहीं, but you have to be relationship, you has to be strong. So building networking, going around, being lively, being cheerful, being able to connect the dots and quickly also make an environment lighter. And that has helped me a lot, especially you should be able to bring fun to the environment. And this is what I look for, is that people with integrity, with people with fun, people who have committed, these are basic things that can make you there. And be a good listener. And that's something that I wasn't, because I was all the time, HR वैसी बातें करते ज़्यादा तो लोग, but at the same time, when you have a lot to say, then of course I had to control myself. I have to have listening skills, proper listening skills, because people say, "Oh, hear me out, hear me out." So those are things that is important. But to be with the people, understand them, sincerely answer them. And when you're an HR, you got to take people's call, even अगर 5, 6, 7, 8 बजे भी आ रहे हैं. Somebody must be in a need. ये नहीं कि 5 बजे के बाद घर गए तो कोई कॉल नहीं आ रही, या मुझे कल कॉल करें. If somebody wants you, चाहे वो कोई employee हो, you've got to answer it. This is the role that is important.
Okay, good. So you talked about multiple leadership traits that has helped you to grow in your career. अगर जरा सा आप beginner level पे आते हैं, जैसे आपने बात की कि आप तो हर थोड़े टाइम के बाद you see a good new generation. आपके experience के हिसाब से the people who are coming in, joining in just recently, like the BBA grads or undergrads, when they join in the organization, what are the common traits that you have seen among them that help them to grow in the early phase of their career?
You see, a lot of things have been said, and जो लोग कहते हैं, consultants हैं या writers हैं, whatever it is, but it is not really stigmatized कि सारे ऐसे हैं. For example, ये है कि जी आजकल के बच्चे जो हैं ना, वो they want to take notes on their computer या iPads and phone पे. But when I'm in the class, I notice that half the people say नहीं जी हमें तो notes hard copy के लिए चाहिए और हमने खुद notes पे लिखना है. And half the people say no, we have just memorized it and we are just putting it on the phone and they're just relaxing. So it's more personality driven. So there are people who are hardworking, there are people who are relaxed, there are people who are very analytical, that they are there. So different aspects. But of course, as a younger generation, when they come in, they are excited about it. They are excited to join a new workforce. So when they come with a very high pitch, कि भाई, this is going to happen. This is now the time from the organization as well to make sure that they assimilate the youngsters properly. सिर्फ उनकी नहीं चल सकती. And the youngsters have to understand that there are policies, procedures in the company that they cannot bypass. So you have to understand that it has to be both ways. So yes, I would advise when the youngsters come in and I find them nice, chirpy, more digital savvy, which is good. But digital savvy सिर्फ Facebook और Instagram पे जाने से नहीं होगा. Digital savvy means the actual digitalization and the understanding of data analytics and also that I will extend towards that. And have patience, of course. So then again, I do find some people from different backgrounds, different disciplines. MBAs are much more faster because the fact is that they're coming from different school. Engineers are different, the pharmacists. But generally, by and large, when the youngsters are coming in, they're ready to learn. Mm-hmm. So this is where organizations need to cater to help them out. So yes, I do find them innovative. They can come up with quick ideas because the social platform has given them the liberty to, interact everywhere. So the knowledge of the current aspects are much higher than would have been before. क्योंकि पहले खबर आती थी, अब तो खबर फ़ौरन सोशल मीडिया पे आ जाती है. तो उस तरह की चीज़ें हैं. लेकिन but still we have to be very careful from both sides. Youngsters must understand that there is a process, there is an environment, and the organizations from that angle, the leaders have to understand, your supervisors understand that these are young kids coming in. So how do we cater for them? How do we do that? So everything is not possible. देखिए कई clips आ रही हैं कि not clips आ रही हैं, but people just say कि जी कोई बात नहीं, ये youngsters हैं, तमीज़ नहीं है, कैसे भी ड्रेसिंग आती है, but there are norms. आप कहीं भी जाएंगे there has to be norms, और वो वैल्यू सिखा रही होती हैं. So that's important.
थैंक यू. इसी के साथ जुड़ा हुआ एक सवाल और है कि जब आपको पता है कि शुरू में जनरली हम व्हाट वी डू दैट वी हिट एंड ट्रायल वाला मेथड हम सबको होता है, करियर जब शुरू करते थे, ओके यहाँ चले जाते हैं, फिर यहाँ चले जाते हैं. एनी एडवाइस फॉर द न्यू जॉइनर्स कि एटलीस्ट उनको कितना टाइम एक जगह पर गुजारना चाहिए? फॉर एग्जाम्पल से उन्होंने HR फंक्शन ज्वाइन किया या सेल्स से, क्या मार्केटिंग से, एनीवेयर, any assumptions कि इतना टाइम कम से कम आप ज़रूर इन्वेस्ट करें to know that field particularly in the best manner, and then decide whether it's your cup of tea or not?
Well, some companies offer quite a bit of rotation. 2 साल 3 साल के बाद some company have an open job posting कि जहाँ apply करें and then you apply. So we also have that, and some company have a long management trainee program. In that every 3 months they rotate people so that the kids get an idea of where they are, उनकी strengths पता लगती हैं. So these are methods by the organizations. From the other side, if the students are there, the internships are a great idea to start with. One internship in HR, pharma industry, the other internship in marketing, FMCG. So this gives them a different feel of the organizations and what kind of work it is. Then I think the students should also have some kind of senior mentors or students, or ask them, review the pros and cons, look at their own personality. Where do I fit? Where am I more desk-oriented person, or do I like to travel outside? I like traveling, so I want to sell people. So you have to understand themselves, and the students need to understand that. Then of course comes the next part, is that once they have done that, if the person does join कि चलो देख लेते हैं, जॉब अच्छी है, सैलरी अच्छी है, इस कंपनी को ज्वाइन कर लेते हैं, HR में कर लेते हैं. HR में 6 महीने काम किया, कहने लगे, this is not the kind of job that I can do that. कुछ एक वर्ड होती है which is called cognitive dissonance, which is the post purchase behavior. तो ज्वाइन करने के बाद ये अच्छा नहीं है, but one has to still analyze. Don't quit quickly. Anything that you start will have a post purchase behavior. So I would say if you are well prepared, because you don't have the luxury from hopping 1 साल HR, 1 साल marketing, 1 साल कंपनीज भी चेंज कर रहे हैं, तो कंपनीज जब चेंज करेंगे तो चौथी कंपनी पहुंचेंगे, आपने 3 साल में 3 कंपनी चेंज कर ली. सो दैट्स नॉट राइट. और 3 महीने के बाद करेंगे तो और डेंजरस है. सो वन शुड बी वेल प्रिपेयर्ड. स्टिल you can still have the margin of error. So you can join it, stay there, stick around for at least 1.5 or 2 years. Ask that company to move you somewhere, or basically then move out somewhere. So maybe जानने के लिए, if you're well prepared, you will have lesser time. So think about a career and think about a job or the industry much before you jump in. Problem ये होती है, jobs खुलती हैं, सब कहते हैं बच्चा ले लो क्योंकि आजकल jobs नहीं है तो ले लें, फिर हम देखी जाएगी. बैठे. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि organization का time और individual का time दोनों का जार होता है. Some people like that. Like I said, that I moved from sales to HR and I started liking it. But of course it was a good organization, and then again I got very good organization, the current one, my previous one as well. So I enjoyed my career. We move people also, transfer people from sales and marketing to finance. इस तरह की चीज़ें करते रहते हैं. From sales into HR लेकर आए, and they've done very well. So to find out exactly, don't test the waters too much, because you need to prepare. You don't have the liberty or the luxury to do this 6 months. Literally आप 3 years के बाद अगर 4 कंपनियां बदल चुके हैं, तो who will hire you? So they'll say, yeah, this guy is going to change, So internships is the great part, because that's where you can do that. तो इसीलिए I've seen some very good students जो कि 6 हफ्ते की internship करते हैं within those 3 months जब छुट्टियां होती हैं summers में, because they want to get a feel, which is good, which is also a good idea, and then learn from people.
Okay. एक और बहुत कॉमन क्वेश्चन होता है कि when कभी भी हायरिंग होती है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, तो तमाम इंटरव्यूज, फॉर एग्जांपल सेल्स में भी होना है या मार्केटिंग में होना, तो जो पर्टिकुलर लाइन मैनेजर्स होते हैं वो तो इंटरव्यू करते हैं. HR क्यों इंटरव्यू करता है? HR क्या देखना चाहता है उस कैंडिडेट में जिसको लाइन मैनेजर ने ऑलरेडी अप्रूव किया होता है?
Okay, I strongly believe, और आज तक I mean I don't go into details of interviews, लेकिन जो shortlisted 1-2 होते हैं,
Objective of that interview.
Just I'd like to see that, and it's important. Why HR should see that? Let's say अगर marketing manager ने देख लिया है या finance manager देख लिया, तो he's looking from finance angle and a little bit of culture, organization as well, and then also the marketing guy has also seen it. From an HR, he would look at other depths also and could see that will he be, because he is put in that role, and then the HR has to be professional to do that, not just because कि ये इसकी डिग्री नहीं है और फलाना नहीं है, मतलब वो तो एक अलग चीज़ है, those are basic things, but how does the HR get a feel, and that's where he has, जब बात करी थी ना HR की evolution की, this is where he has to be skillful to note the kind of body languages, to note the kind of the feel that the candidate is given, to go into more competency based interviews, to find out, dig more deep into it, whether the person will be fit or not, and that's where the HR can help. Of course, the business leaders also do that. So it's a combine. However, at the end of the day, the hiring should be aligned together, HR and finance. If there is a decision where there is a yes and no, then fine, we should drop the candidate. And either the business says or the HR says it. The HR can add value, and that's what's important.
So I can sum it up like that. HR is mostly focusing on the cultural fit part.
Yes.
Okay, the
We do ask
personal
business,
and the behavior
Yeah.
is actually the similar that organization
Right. Because when you're being an HR, you have a whole idea of the entire culture.
Yeah.
You have a better view of everything.
Yeah.
And that's why you can see where the person can fit in. So technically the person may be very sound, but may not fit in the culture. So if there is a conflict, then we need to make sure that we may either can get a couple of other people interview their person that way, or we take a decision, strong decision, yes or no. So in that's way I think it works well both ways.
तो शकील, एक सवाल जो बड़ा ही कॉमन मैंने देखा है लिंक्डइन पे, जिस पे एक बहुत बर्निंग डिबेट हो रही होती है कि एक कॉमन क्वेश्चन ये कहते हैं कि जी एचआर वाले रिस्पॉन्स क्यों नहीं करते. आपने काफ़ी पीपल की बात की एंड रिस्पॉन्स की बात की. जनरली व्हाट इज़ द हिच? लोग कहते हैं कि जब अप्लाई करते हैं या सीवी भेज के थक जाते हैं, एचआर वाले जवाब ही नहीं देते. इसको ज़रा प्लीज़ एक्सप्लोर कर दें.
There is so much work in the organization. There's so many emails coming in. If I open my email every day, or anyone, it's not just from the company. There are literally 70-60% sometime are emails from different people trying to promote the training programs from institutes, and resumes are scoring and हम forward to कर देते हैं. It's humanly impossible now that if somebody has sent a resume कि सबको respond किया जाए, you will need to have an additional head count to actually sit down और सबको letters निकाल के sign करे, ये email पे भेज दें. Sometime कोई personal email आ जाती है तो I do respond and people do respond. जिसको shortlist करके interview कर लें और interview के बाद अगर नहीं होते तो then it's important that you tell them कि I'm sorry आपका नहीं हुआ. That's the thing. But not to all the resumes. Yes, they are auto-generated, so that's why system में आप डाल दें and the system can send you the note that we have acknowledged that we have received. फिर सबको जाके कहें जी you are not been shortlisted. वो चीज़ अब मुश्किल से मेरे ख्याल से कहीं मिलती होगी. तो acknowledgement मिल जाती कि thank you very much for your resume, but it's not possible. There are, if I advertise for HR officer या marketing officers, there will be more than 600-700 applications because under the job crisis. और उसमें वो भी हैं जो कि बिल्कुल relevant ही नहीं है. डिग्री आपने मांगी है, ईयर्स एक्सपीरियंस मांगा है 8 साल का या 6 साल का, पता लगा वो 0 एक्सपीरियंस पे आ रहे हैं. सो यू नीड टू कट शॉर्ट दैट एंड देन साइफरिंग देम बिकम्स डिफिकल्ट. तो ऑफ कोर्स लिंक्डइन से हेल्प मिल जाता है एंड ऑफ कोर्स योर फॉर्म इज डिजाइन्ड सच वे कि ओनली 10 years एक्सपीरियंस का मैं उठा लूँ एंड ऑल दैट. बट रिस्पॉन्डिंग टू द कैंडिडेट्स इट्स नॉट ईजी.
Okay, thank you. I think it's
I would just like to add on, people should not get disheartened because अगर नहीं आता, sometimes it's in the database, they picked up and it is there.
Yeah, I think इसमें मायूसी की बात नहीं होती है. It's like for any other call, I would say आपकी sales call होती है, बहुत कुछ होता है, तो you keep on applying and at times luck or your choice or your destiny is there, so you do definitely get the response. एक सवाल और जो from having you on the show, like HR होते हुए एक senior position पे when you look at the people around, people management is it's an art. So what you see कि कौन से अगर people managers हम देखना चाहें कि what are the good traits of the people manager that you have seen और आपको लगता है कि these are the ones that any manager or people manager should adapt and that would really help to themselves as well as the teams to grow.
Like I said, leadership is the most important thing, and this is another HR aspect they should cater for developing leadership and not just sending them off कि 2 दिन के program पे वहाँ पे दिया, 3 दिन के program दे रहा. This is the journey of leadership development. Even if you send anyone to any great university, आप लाखों रुपए खर्च कर लेंगे, बाहर भेजवा देंगे, लेकिन अगर उसका behavior change नहीं होगा, let's suppose he goes to a even to a Harvard University and comes back on the sorry, and the next morning he talks about कि जी हार्वर्ड में गया था और मैं गई थी और फलाना था और ये था, और अगर आपके पास एम्प्लॉई आ रहा है और आपसे कोई कंसर्न कह रहा है and you just shrug your shoulders, the whole day is gone. So what is that use of that training? So this is a journey that has to be there. Therefore, providing young leaders with mentor. So as a people manager, one has to build up the trust. One has to make sure that people trust the leader, what they're saying. They are sincere. We जो हम बात कर रहे थे sincerity के concerns को address करने के लिए, and be considerate and be a friend. You do not have to be stiff to be a manager. You know, it's not about, maturity is not becoming seriousness. Maturity is all about logic that comes with. So you can be funny, you can be friendly, but yet mature. लोग समझते हैं जी अगर आप सीनियर बोल गए तो आप सीरियस रहना चाहिए. And I can't do that because it's not in my nature. So with seriousness does not show maturity. It just shows sometimes could be arrogance. I mean, basically could be not. So people manager, first of all, they need to bring in, they need to loosen up a stiff atmosphere. They need to assimilate everyone. They need to take care of everyone. They need to avoid favoritism. They need to make sure that your performance goals are written properly, are followed up, and the feedback is given throughout the year. क्योंकि employee क्यों काम कर रहा है? I would like to hear from my boss, how am I doing? Am I not doing well? And the people managers are good, जो कि starting में feedback दे दें कि look, these are the things you need to improve. Don't. Most of the leaders shy away telling their people कि आप में ये problem है या ये problem है. Give a feedback there and then, उसी के लिए, and he or she will believe you. So the way you give feedback is also an art. But giving feedback throughout the year and the mid-year and the year-end helps. Because this is what they cater for. ये ना हो कि साल के एंड में बैठ के सरप्राइज दे रहे हो कि आपकी रेटिंग लो हो गई, कहीं मुझे पता ही नहीं था. So you know उस तरह.
Thank you very much, I think, for saying that. Having the benefit of your experience, mashallah, a long journey. आप कैसे सेग्रीगेट करेंगे, फॉर एग्जाम्पल ओवर द टाइम, यू नो, एज अ बिगिनर आप शुरू करते हैं, फिर तकरीबन 8-10 साल के बाद यू गेट इनटू अ डिफरेंट, यू नो, काइंड ऑफ अ माइंडसेट एंड डिफरेंट पर्सनैलिटी ऑल टुगेदर. आपकी लर्निंग्स क्या रही हैं कि ओवर द टाइम आप जब एज अ बिगिनर होते हैं, देन मिडिल मैनेजमेंट पे जाते हैं, एंड देन लीडरशिप पे ट्रांजिट करते हैं, मेजरली क्या चेंज आता है? व्हाट यू ऑफलोड फ्रॉम योर माइंड एंड व्हाट यू कैन से अडैप्ट आउट ऑफ दैट?
I think, you know, generally एक approach ये है कि एक होता है task oriented और एक होता है people oriented. When you start, your task orientation is much higher. तो आप भाग रहे होते हैं, Excel पे भी चीज़ें बना रहे होते हैं, and presentation पे focus हो रहा हो, things like that, क्योंकि मेरे पास कोई under नहीं होता. And as you go into the middle management, it becomes balancing. When you go towards the top, the task becomes less, and then you have to be people oriented, whether it's HR or whether it's BU head or anyone. Yes, you need to be addressing the numbers. Yes, you need to see the sales, but you're not going to run around and making Excels and things like that. But at the same time, when you grow older, you need to understand people. With the age or with the time, wisdom also comes in, right? If you're making, let's say, a person 32, 33 years old, a BU head or a department head or a function head, then that person must have special qualities of understanding and of being able to manage people older and younger than him or her. So which is important, but that comes with talent. But over the years, I see a lot of people, and I'll give you an example. We were hiring for HR BPs, and I had a couple of candidates जो कहीं head of HR थे. तो मैंने कहा, why are you coming as a head of HR here? And they want to learn. They want to, because हम बड़ी जल्दी HR head बन गए. So we lost out on the concept, but they were involved in the operational part. See, so all the heads on there. So I would say that take your time. Do not aim high, but take time when you're ready fully. And ready means concepts of HR, understanding people, being observant. You think that you can deliver it, then you deliver it. Because if you go faster, you can either make it or break it. And depends on the organization. And हर चीज़ is not similar. Industry भी different हो सकती है, within industries companies भी different हो सकते हैं. So the whole culture also depends how you're developing. So it's very different. But the individual must know his strengths or her strengths, because then the person can really see that am I ready or not ready. And that's why having mentors off-site other than the company or other than that, it's always help. Take feedback from your peers also. Listen to what your leader is saying. तो you know overall culture उसी वक्त develop होता है. यही बात मैं आके कह रहा हूँ कि that's where HR needs to be enabler to make it happen. and people love listening to their feedback. ऐसा नहीं होगा. I liked feedback, and my boss used to say that. But it's good because if you get a clear feedback at the right time, believe me, you tend to change that, and you can change a lot of behaviors. So that's important.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you talked about feedback. Anything, the real-time thing that Shakeel can share, that was the feedback or the learning over the time that has actually helped you grow in your career?
दो फीडबैक तो नहीं था, एक सजेशन था और एक फीडबैक शुरू में ऑफ कोर्स आई वाज a very hyper person, and still I am. So basically, somebody said, hold on, calm down, and just basically listen to me. So I tend to go outside and then, so of course that listening skills had to be improved, but in a good manner. So every time I used to get that, and I said, okay, now I better hold on, keep my mouth shut. And when I keep quiet, tum bol nahi rahe, because I'm that kind of a person. So, but it helps. So listening skills is important, and you tend to, because when you're younger or when you know a lot of people like to share things. So, and different ways. So I think that's something that also helped. And I think the other thing was the good advice, not a feedback or advice, is just make sure that you connect with people, the respect that you give to the people, whether it's the security guard or whether it's the GM. You need to greet them the same way, okay? Because it's that thing that becomes important. So when you see it, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में आपको लोग पता लग जाता है कि जो सीनियर लोग हैं उनको तो बड़े अच्छे से सलाम कर रहे हैं, जो जूनियर सलाम करता है वो जवाब ही नहीं देते, तो आपका इमेज एक क्रिएट होता है. सो दिस इज वेरी, एंड लर्न हाउ टू सी द पर्सपेक्टिव फ्रॉम अदर पीपल एंगल. ठीक है ना? सो दैट्स द इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that. In fact, that's really a learning thing, that connecting with people and respecting the values and the people around. आपने बाकी फीडबैक के बारे में एंड द ओवरऑल द डिस्कशन दैट आर गोइंग ऑन, पाकिस्तान में इट्स लाइक काइंड ऑफ अ डिस्कशन एवरीवेयर कि जी ओके मे बी सिचुएशन इज नॉट गुड, पाकिस्तान में अब कुछ खास अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ नहीं है. आपका क्या टेक है उसके ऊपर कि पाकिस्तान में अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं नहीं है?
देखिए, इट्स बीन इयर्स, बचपन से हम सुन रहे हैं कि भाई पाकिस्तान से चले जाना चाहिए, अमेरिका चले जाते हैं, कनाडा चले जाते हैं, ऑस्ट्रेलिया चले जाते हैं, और लोग फैमिली भी जाते थे. फिर हालात सही होते थे, कहते हैं हाँ चलो यहाँ सही चल रहा है. फिर हालात कुछ ख़राब होते थे कि नहीं बाहर चले जाते हैं. फिर कुछ लोग गए भी, कुछ वापस भी आ गए, स्टूडेंट्स भी जाते हैं. देखिए, पढ़ने जाएँ, बाहर जाएँ, ज़रूर जाएँ, बिकॉज यू हैव एन एक्सपोजर ऑफ आवर कल्चर, डिफरेंट कल्चर, डाइवर्सिटी के साथ काम करते हैं. जब आप डिफरेंट कल्चर, डाइवर्सिटी के लोगों से मिलते हैं, बहुत रिच आपका एक्सपीरियंस होता है. तो एज अ स्टूडेंट यू गेन अ लॉट, नो डाउट अबाउट इट. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमारी कंट्री के अंदर एक ज़माने में कुछ स्टूडेंट्स आते थे, लेकिन अगर इमेजिन यहाँ पर बाहर के फॉरेन स्टूडेंट्स आने लगे यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में, कॉलेजेस में, आप ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में, तो देयर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ कल्चर मिक्स. अनफॉर्चुनेटली वी डोंट सी टूरिज्म दैट वे. लेकिन पाकिस्तान को सिर्फ इस वजह से कि जी बिजली नहीं है या पानी नहीं है, हम बाहर चले जाते हैं या बच्चों की पढ़ाई के लिए जा रहे हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. यहाँ से बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं, बहुत ऐसी जगह हैं जो कि टॉप स्कूल से नहीं पढ़े हुए, but they have done very well, and now they are digitally also very strong. I was noticing कि छोटे छोटे शहर हैं, वाह है, साहिवाल हैं इन लोगों के. I met some people and their kids are, after studies, they have been offered jobs in Austria and Germany and things like that. वो robotic engineering हुआ, तो कोई टॉप यूनिवर्सिटी से नहीं किया हुआ, छोटी यूनिवर्सिटी से किया हुआ, तो they are skillful, and that's why they're picking up. But पाकिस्तान में से करीब सब चलते जाएंगे तो फिर क्या होगा पाकिस्तान का? सो आई थिंक देयर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ पोटेंशियल हियर ऑल्सो. ऐसा नहीं है, एंड इट्स समथिंग दैट लोग एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप में आते हैं, सब कहते हैं यार कि फेल हो गए. पहली बात यह है कि पाकिस्तान में दैट पोटेंशियल इज़ देयर, लेकिन टू डू द राइट स्टार्टअप इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट एंड हैज़ टू बी हेल्प्ड. हम बात करते हैं स्टार्टअप्स की, लेकिन जो यंगस्टर्स स्टार्ट होते हैं उनको हेल्प सपोर्ट नहीं मिलता. अगर 6 महीने तक उसको पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे तो क्या करेगा? सो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस इन कॉर्पोरेट्स और प्राइवेट जो होते हैं, जो इन्फोर्स कर रहे होते हैं, दे सपोर्टेड, एंड सम ऑफ देम आर डूइंग इट. हाउ टू हेल्प दीज पीपल स्टैंड अप ऑन देयर ओन फीट, दैट्स इज इम्पॉर्टेंट. देयर्स लॉट्स ऑफ ग्रेट आइडियाज, क्रिएटिविटी इज देयर. सम स्टूडेंट्स आई मेट कहने जी हम यहाँ खुश हैं, दे आर मेकिंग गुड मनी, ऑनलाइन बना रहे हैं पैसे एंड थिंग लाइक दैट. सो देयर इज होप ऑल्सो. स्टडीज़ के लिए ज़रूर जाएँ. Yes, if somebody has to migrate, fine, but there has to be certain reason. लेकिन एक रश नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं है. बस ये है, अनफॉर्चुनेटली वी शुड बी एबल टू गेट आउट ऑफ द करंट क्राइसिस. वो 5 साल पहले भी हमने कहा था करंट क्राइसिस, 10 साल पहले भी कहा था करंट, लेकिन आजकल जो क्राइसिस है उससे जब निकल आए तो आई एम श्योर पीपल वुड लव टू स्टे बैक इन पाकिस्तान. वहाँ वेस्ट चले जाएँ या कहीं चले जाएँ, वो setup problems कुछ और होंगी. You know, there are issues and different things like that. तो depend करता है what you need and what you have to do. So everybody should not just jump. Just think what you need to do. And I always feel that parents के साथ कई लोग नहीं जाते because it's very good.
Wonderful. So there is still a hope, and people should, also see that light at the end of the tunnel. Lastly, क्या कहेंगे पाकिस्तान में आपने कुछ तो इंडस्ट्री से भी टच बेस किए हैं. You belong to pharmaceutical, लेकिन इसके अलावा पाकिस्तान में any other sector that you can share to the audience that those are growing and people can definitely look for starting their career from there?
Well, the only thing that I say is that pick up any industry, any company. Banking bhi is quite strong here. FMCGs are quite strong. Local companies, textile is also there, and they are also evolving. They're shaping up the way they are. Then there are pharmaceutical industries, multinational and local. The most important thing is that people should try out, and when they are picking up a career or picking up a job, they must see first of all what they want to do. If I want to do FMCG or if I want to do consumer products, जो consumer के organizations हैं, मैं वहाँ जाना चाहता हूँ. फिर मैं किस area में जाना चाहता हूँ, HR में हूँ, marketing में हूँ. That's how the selection of the career and the organization is important. Priority 1, Priority 2, Priority 3. Jumping in any organization and then trying to figure out कि ये तो सही नहीं है, तो वो नहीं होना चाहिए. Yes, it may take some time a little bit. कहने यार चलो यार चल लेते हैं कर लेते हैं. And sometimes the candidates are good, but because of the lack of jobs availability, one has to become now more skillful or more open to 2-3 disciplines. एक में बहुत मुश्किल होगा. So one has to be geared up. Okay, my first preference is marketing. I could go into HR and communication. I don't like finance, then don't go into finance. Or I want to go into business development, something with numbers, then seek for that thing. So this is where you have to address. Because yes, you have to be prepared for 2-3 areas where you can go.
Very quickly, आपने जब बात की अभी कि आप सिर्फ एक डिसिप्लिन पे अपने आप को डिपेंडेंट ना बनाएं, then you should आजकल बहुत बात होती है अपस्किल करने की, रीस्किल करने की. And going forward, this shift is we are seeing in the dynamics of the organizations and in the working culture. Do you see कि going forward से degrees एक हद तक रोल प्ले करेंगे, लेकिन I think maybe 5 years down the road or after some time, skillful होना कितना ज़्यादा weight carry करेगा other than the degrees only?
Degrees is very important, and they always say कि degree is to really, it's like a visa to get a good job. ऐसा नहीं है कि डिग्रियाँ ख़त्म हो जाएंगी. You have these great universities, all the Ivy League in America, Canada में Cambridge है, all those organizations. तो वो तो कोई बंद तो नहीं हो रही. तो degrees is important. You cannot say that it will finish off. So that is important. But in universities and colleges, I think they also have to shape up to provide them that skill that is required with it, and they do that. बहुत सारी academic institutions, and they keep calling. They have these visiting faculties to come in there to tell them कि organization में क्या चीज़ required है other than just the degree, which is very important. Then organizations should also cater up कि भाई ये degree आ रहे हैं, the gap between the academia and the organizations. So this is where their organization need to fill in. You can't expect somebody to be skillful on day one. So that's what's important is existing लोग जो हैं, if like any other revolution, for example, people use typewriter, then typewriter to computer, computer to digital. So aista aista you have to upskill yourself. Without upskilling, it won't work. So you have to keep on doing that, reskilling in the different areas. And some organizations actually rotate people from interest, finance to marketing, marketing to HR, depending on 2-3-10 साल के अंदर rotation हो गए. So which is good. And but then the person has to be prepared for it, know about it, So this is
looking at your professional journey, mashallah, like a long association with multiple organizations. Anything that you can say कि शकील की जो एक लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग होती है ना, एक सबक ज़िंदगी से आपने सीखा होता है, वो अगर आप शेयर करना चाहें जो आपके लिए बहुत काम आया और आप आगे भी काम आएगा.
Well, I think one should be able to have fun and create fun. Basically, be smile. I mean, you need to have a happy life. And if you are cribbing all the time, यानी अगर आप बस क्या कहते हैं उर्दू में उसके आप कुड़ते रहें, ये चीज़ सही नहीं, वो चीज़ सही नहीं, फलाना नहीं अच्छा. You have to be adaptive. You have to adaptive to all environment, all people. कोई ethnic group हो, कोई religious group हो, कोई nationality हो. You need to be adaptive to the people, and you have to change quickly. And that makes you feel quickly assimilated into that organizations. So you have to win and lose or something like that. And to me, fun is the most important thing. You have to have that environment of happiness and fun.
Wonderful. Any key message at the end, if you want to share with the audience?
I think most important, like I said, is to be truthful, to have strong integrity. If you make a mistake in organizations, don't lie. Just say that I did that, I made a mistake. And the seniors or the leaders must accept that mistakes can happen and allow them to mistake. Otherwise, the fear element will chala jayega. And again, these days, बहुत important है कि हम मुश्किल होता है tactfully handle करें. कोई एम्प्लॉय अगर स्ट्रेस्ड आउट है तो हाउ डू यू हैंडल हिज और द बॉस देयर टेक्स सम टाइम बिकॉज स्ट्रेस हैज़ टू बी रिलीज एंड वी नीड टू क्रिएट दैट एनवायरनमेंट. लाइक आई सेड, द बेस्ट कल्चरल एनवायरनमेंट कैन डेवलप विद लीस्ट स्ट्रेस. स्ट्रेस फॉर वर्क इज़ गुड, देयर इज़ अ गुड स्ट्रेस ऑल्सो कि आपको प्रोजेक्ट मिला हुआ है और आप भाग के काम कर रहे हैं, देयर इज़ अ डेडलाइन विच इज़ ट्रू. पर ऊपर से अगर आपका सुपरवाइज़र या ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस कोई बहुत ज़ोर से बात कर रहे हैं या चीख के बात कर रहे हैं तो वो बेचारा ऑलरेडी स्ट्रेस में है. क्योंकि देखें, इफ़ यू हैव अ टीम, if I want to get some job done, why do I have to shout and get the job done? If I can influence positively to get the job done, it's the same thing. And I've seen a lot of leaders and they're really who never scream, who never shout, but get the work done because it is the charismatic charm they use and influence people.
Thank you very much, Shakeel. It has been wonderful having you on the show because I think if I sum up all the discussion that we had, it is all based on the people. Connecting with the people, having adaptability, and
knowing the business.
Knowing the business, of course. Yeah. So thank you very much for being with us, and it has been a wonderful discussion.
Thank you very much for giving me the time.
Passion to drive things.
तो जुड़े रहिएगा इस चैनल के साथ. हम आपको बताएंगे उन तमाम सवालों के जवाब जो कि आपको आजकल परेशान करते हैं कि आपने अपना करियर कहाँ से और कैसे शुरू करना है. सो स्टे ट्यून्ड टू आवर चैनल बिकॉज हमें यकीन है कि ये तकरीबन 1 घंटे का डिस्कशन इस चैनल पर जो आप सुनेंगे आपके अगले 5 साल की डायरेक्शन ज़रूर सेट कर देगा.